It has been a while since I found it worthwhile to do a mid-month market update, but June has not gone the way that I have expected, and I have to ask you to please forgive the exhausted look, but as a new dad times two, I have not gotten too much sleep. But a promise is a promise, and I wanted to get this video out for you so you could see exactly what has happened so far this month, how it has gone against some of my expectations, and how it has aligned in other ways. So here we go. As always, if this is the first market update that you have seen, I would highly recommend you go back and watch the June update as well, because it will bring some context for you. But how we do this is we talk about what has happened in the past, bring up some visuals, some charts and data to show what is happening now, and we will use that to project out into the near future about what is going on. So mortgage rates, again, have been a little bit all over the place. And in good news, the Fed did not raise their rate again in the month of June at their June meeting. And general expectations are that they're not going to do any more rate increases throughout the rest of 2023. But we don't know that for sure. There have been some comments, I'll say, from Chairman Powell that left the door open for some of those, but that remains to be seen. Inventory is the big thing that has surprised me, and we'll dig into why in the coming minutes, but basically we've dropped, whereas I had made some posts earlier that we should, based on history, expect an increase of 12 to 18%. But that is not happening so far. And unless we get a wave here in the last 8 to 9 days of the month of June, that is going to be one of the things that I certainly missed on, and we'll have to dig into exactly why. Now, days on market are starting to flatten out for the most part. They inched upwards for the bulk of last month, last couple months even, but they're really leveling out again. And prices, I want to take a second here because it's hard to project exactly where we're going to land because we don't know that the prices of what is under contract, what it's actually going to sell for. Usually it's 98%, 95%, but we don't know. So I had to do a little bit of projecting here, and thankfully math is math, and median prices are median prices. So you can make some pretty educated assumptions, and I expect both single families and condos to inch up again in June. And these are not going to be massive increases. Condos will be bigger than single family, and that's more because, without getting too nerdy here, but I want to make sure you have the context of how I pull these numbers. A 12-month rolling average basically means that when a new month comes on to the end, we lose the 13th month, right? We do 12 months at a time, and as we get into a new month, one falls off. And no matter how this shakes out this month, the month that's falling off last June had a pretty low median sales price in the high 600s, and it looks like we are going to be around 800,000 this month. So it's going to be an increase no matter how we cut it, and single family is going to be about the same. So let's get into some new interesting pictures. And as always, I can move my head for this chart. So new listings. This is one that I had thought we would have seen an increase, again, based on history, but that's obviously not what we're seeing. And these metrics here, I actually marked them up by 25% because we're 3 weeks into the month. We've got one left. I took what listings we have seen in both the condo and the single family world and increased them to project out, hey, if we've seen exactly, or if we do see exactly the amount that we've seen in any given week on average, we're going to end up about here. So again, there is a pretty significant downward trend here. And if that continues, and again, this is a month where normally we have seen a spike in inventory. If that's not going to be the case, and I'm not going to make a huge projection off of one data point, that would be a silly thing to do. But this is not helping buyers. This is not helping prices to moderate. If anything, it's feeding the beast even more. So most of the inventory here, again, is coming in the townhouse condo sector. But even then, we've seen less than we would have expected, whereas single families is about what we would have expected. So things are flattening out there. Pending sales, we are on pace. Again, this is marked up 25% to estimate where we're going to end up. It's about where we were last month. And traditionally speaking, some months we've seen an increase in June, some we've seen a slight decrease like we saw in 2022, as you can see off to the left. But this is nothing to write home about. I'm not going to read too much into this because unless it was a big increase or a big decrease, there's really no sign that the market is changing or that anybody is blinking. Sold homes, again, we're going to basically end up where we have been the past 2 months, and it's close enough to where we were last year for the bulk of the spring that, again, I mean, this looks to me to be evened out for the market to find a happy medium. So as far as months of inventory, single family, was very, very high, up around 9 months a few months back. We took a big drop as a lot of new construction homes came off the market until they will eventually go back on once the projects are actually complete. So we're inching our way back up there. And I anticipate that as some of those homes do come back to market, we may continue to inch up a little bit more as well. We're going to stay above that neutral 6-month line. But again, that's not really stopping people from buying these homes. There's new construction homes that are selling, existing homes that are selling, but the price point is what is the biggest sticking point, in my opinion, as to why more of these are not selling. And as you can see here on the chart, price chart, we're again coming up on a year, essentially. We're 2 months out from being a year of basically flat prices. And again, how long can things stay flat? They traditionally don't stay flat for even this long. So this again gives me kind of a new baseline for where we're going to see the single family market go, because again, it comes down to land, and there's not enough land to build more single family homes. The ones that are going up for 2.5, 3 million. So unless you are in that range, it's going to be hard to find one that's going to be an affordable price point. There is one actually in my neighborhood that just had a pretty substantial price drop that is a great house. I can't really speak to it specifically, but if you're curious which one I'm talking about, it is under $1 million. Just reach out. Happy to give you the details one-on-one, because I can legally do that. But again, we had days on market were rising for single family. And if that trend were going to continue, it would have been one pressure point, let's call it, that would have potentially helped prices to moderate a little bit, come down even a little bit. But if we're going to stay flat or even decrease again for days on market, another sign that it's going to be friendly to sellers, not so friendly to buyers. Now, condos and townhomes, right? Months of inventory has stayed very, very fine, well under 6 for years now, and that does not appear to be changing. Price-wise, again, I expect yet another jump up here in the month of June. We're almost pushing 800,000 for our median sale price, and that is monumental. That's a big number, and we're seeing that. I've had a couple clients, new folks, reach out recently to do some property analyses, rental analyses on some of these condos and townhomes, and the numbers are not good. They don't really work because rental income has slowed down. The increase in rental income, I should say, has slowed down. A lot of the higher end rentals, bigger numbers, they're not getting booked quite as much. I don't want to read too much into specifics nor speculate as to why that particular sector of the rental market has slowed down. But you have to be careful when you're getting into these properties. If you're doing it based off of, I need X in rental income to be able to make this work, we should run those numbers very conservatively. While there is upside, yes, you need to make a smart decision so you don't get hurt. Now, days on market, again, inching upwards, but nothing to write home about whatsoever. So let's talk about the future. Mortgage rates, we really don't know. It's very much up in the air, but again, I don't expect huge swings up or down for the remainder of 2023. Inflation's just not going to change that much. And even if the Fed does increase their Fed funds rate, their prime rate, it shouldn't have a huge impact. Could we see 7%? It's possible. And obviously that is a pretty decent increase over where we are now at 6.5. But, I still don't know that that's going to be enough to change buyers' tune to really say, you know what, that's enough. If too many things line up that way, right, with rates going that way, prices not coming down, and if the economy takes a hit in fall when timing is not optimal to buy anyway, because people typically don't want to carry an entire off season of cost on their second home unless they're using it for themselves. If it's a rental property and they're not going to come down in the off season, then go for it. By all means, it's great here in the off season. It's my favorite time, honestly. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Inventory wise, again, I fully expected an increase here based off of the data, and I make data-driven decisions. And sometimes the reality doesn't align with the data projections. And this is a case of that. So again, I expected a 12% increase. Here we are sitting at a 6% decrease. That's an 18% swing. That's a big number. And even I have gone on at length, right, about people aren't selling. Homeowners are not selling because they're locked in at 4%, 3%, 2.5%. And it appears even I underestimated that. All that I can speculate on is in the past, a lot of folks I know had listed their homes in June with a caveat that they're willing to settle after July 4th or even after September. And if the deal was attractive enough that buyers were okay not being here for the full summer or even missing the summer. But given the environment now of where we are price-wise, uncertainty with mortgage rates, and potentially missing a summer here too, those homes have not been selling, and those homes have not really been hitting the market either. There have been a few, but not as many as I've seen over the past few years. So I'm going to chalk it up to that, that sellers have kind of either wised up entirely and said, you know what, I'm holding this mortgage rate until I die, or they are simply going to wait and hope that the fall brings some better news, some more optimistic news, or potentially even just relist in the coming spring. So a 20% total decrease in activity essentially across the board, right? As far as new listings go, compared to where we were last month, as well as compared to where we were in June of last year. 20% decrease, again, is a substantial drop, and inventory has been our biggest problem. It appears that it is going to continue to be our biggest problem. And that really feeds right into prices, right? As long as inventory is low, and I feel like a broken record, I know you hear it and see it probably in more places than just here. As long as inventory is going to be a problem, prices have really no incentive to decrease, to moderate. And as long as buyers are willing to pay what some sellers are asking, doesn't have to be all, it's going to keep the market going in the direction that it has been heading. Now, again, days on market, will single families stay leveled out? Possibly. Will they start to inch back up? Maybe, because the activity and the volume of the single family homes that are selling, the number of them, it's not that great. So if one has been sitting for 365 days, right, and the rest have been sitting for 60 days, it's going to skew our days on market number pretty substantially. So I'm not going to read too much into that one. And condos, again, it's going to stay low. I just don't see a big inventory swarm coming to really change any of that. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I'm going to be still here posting a video every week, should newborn life allow for that. But I'm going to ask that if you have any questions, if you're curious about anything, be proactive and reach out to me any of the ways you see here. I'm always happy to chat, answer whatever questions you have, give you my candid take on a particular listing on the market. I'm here to serve. So thank you as always for hanging out. If you haven't done so, make sure you hit subscribe down below, because the content that I'm going to continue to come out with will keep you one step ahead of the market, will allow you to make some confident decisions. And it has helped countless people, both clients of mine and people who have chosen to work with somebody else, has helped them make more confident and more effective decisions. So thanks again. I'll see you next time.